What's up, everybody? My name is Corey, over on the product marketing side here at DoControl. Excited to present today's webinar, which is on the ROI of a SaaS security program. And I am joined by Matt, who heads up our revenue operations team. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so quickly reviewing today's agenda. First and foremost, we're going to do a quick high-level DoControl introduction on who we are, what we do. We're going to touch on the need for vendor and tooling consolidation. We'll then talk about the criticality of ROI and our approach to ROI. Matt is going to do a great job covering our SaaS data exposure assessment. So we do have a new risk assessment tool that we've made available. So we're going to cover that. And then we'll leave you with a few additional resources for next steps. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please input them into the chat box. We have some DoControl experts that will be answering those questions live for you. All right, great. So let's just get right into it. So DoControl, what is our mission statement? We protect your data in SaaS applications. So we're very much focused on securing business critical SaaS applications and data. That is what we focus on. We're in an emerging market that is SaaS security. So there's a whole variety of different technology providers that are trying to solve different use cases and address different threat models. And DoControl is very much focused on securing those business critical applications and the data that is accessed, shared, and manipulated by all of your different identities. That way you can consume these SaaS applications and services in a secure way, and you're not slowing down the business. So that's what we're focused on. When we talk about SaaS in general, there is a scalable issue with how these applications are utilized. As I mentioned, you have a wide range of different identities. You have human users, which are your employees, your contractors, your third-party vendors, your customers, your partners. You have machine identities, so you have application-to-application interconnectivity via OAuth tokens to enable applications to connect to the environment. That way, again, these are all tools that enable your end users to be productive. So you have a very complex identity problem within the SaaS estate. And it's a scalable issue, as I mentioned. As your business grows and scales, your issue around data overexposure, data management, application sprawl, data sprawl, it becomes very difficult to manage. And you create this technical debt that is almost impossible to overcome. So that's what we are aiming to do, is partner with modern organizations that are leveraging these tools so they can drive business enablement in a secure fashion. But the risks that become imposed by adopting these applications come in a wide range of different threat models. You've got insider risk. You have people that work for the business. They're either resigning or they're terminated. And guess what they often do? They take sensitive data with them upon their departure. You've got external risks. You've got, nefarious characters. You've got hacking groups. These attackers are turning their targets towards SaaS applications because this is, a cloud technology that is not as looked at as some of the other as a service technologies. So it's a vulnerability. It's a gap that most organizations have. Non-human identities. We covered this. You've got machine identity access. You've got SaaS to SaaS interconnectivity. You have compliance pressures, right? Think about the number of different privacy regulations that have come up in recent years, ensuring the protection of personal data. You have, things like PCI DSS. You've got HIPAA. You've got controls that need to be applied to protect sensitive information, personally identifiable information, healthcare information, so on and so forth. You also have multiple SaaS applications that have different sets of data, different permissions. Oftentimes you'll have these productivity suites that perform similar functionality, and there's no way to centrally secure access and protect data within those complicated environments. Malware propagation, the list goes long, right? It's a long list of different threat models. When you look at the average amount of sensitive records for a standard organization, you've got 157,000 records. Average cost of a data breach in terms of these average companies is $28 million. 81% of organizations have had sensitive SaaS data that's overexposed. This comes from a Varonis report from last year. DoControl actually recently published a threat landscape report that is very much focused on SaaS security, and wanted to reference some of the compelling statistics from that report. So what we did in generating this report, it's essentially a customer study. We looked at mid-sized organizations and large enterprises and created, these basically generalizations and created a report for organizations to benchmark themselves within, their different industries and the size of the organization. And from that report, again, 5.5 million files need to be protected. It's a scalable issue. You've got 100,000 files that are publicly accessible across Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, et cetera. You've got fourth-party domains that have access to sensitive data. You've got third-party OAuth applications, 800 to 3,000. Third-party collaborators that have access. Think about the number of contractors that organizations rely on today. It's so easy to share data with those contractors to support a business relationship. But after that relationship ends, most times organizations and IT teams specifically aren't going in and revoking access to that data set. You have encryption keys, AWS keys, tokens that are shared and available and accessible through Slack channels. You have 61% of companies that have employees that are sharing files with their private email accounts. Again, this is a common practice when people come and go from the business. In terms of weekly SaaS interactions, you've got 55,000 files to 3 million files on a weekly average, right? So again, the risk of SaaS application increases over time as the business grows and scales. Organizations need to put in place the right controls to make sure that they can drive their business in a secure way. So in terms of DoControl, when you look at the modern technology stack, you've got identity providers like Okta, Azure AD, et cetera, that are providing the appropriate permissions and entitlements at the identity level so users can connect to their applications to do their job. And the connection component is SASE, SSE, Zero Trust Network Access. You've got a bunch of providers that are brokering that secure connection for the user. However, once they get into this environment, they can essentially do whatever they want, right? And if those endpoints and those identities become compromised, the access remains the same for those users. So you need to have the right controls in place. And that's the opportunity that was created for DoControl. We're helping close that gap within the SaaS environment. You've got data access concerns, you've got unmanageable access across all of those identities that I touched on previously. So this is the opportunity for DoControl. This is the gap in SaaS security that we're trying to solve for. And when you look at the market, you have a number of different technology providers that are trying to solve for a wide range of different use cases. The SaaS security market is emerging, it's evolving. Most oftentimes people associate SaaS security with posture management, but there's a whole wide range of other challenges that organizations are having to deal with when they consume these services. You've got data access concerns, as I mentioned. You've got data loss prevention concerns. In terms of the available tools that are out there, oftentimes organizations will try to leverage an existing technology that they have, like a legacy CASB or it's some DLP tools, but they're not agile and they don't effectively capture, SaaS as an egress channel. The access control policies that you need to configure and create are limited and they're hard coded. You have a lot of point-to-point solutions that are available that are just covering one segment within SaaS security. You have organizations that are trying to rely on the manual security controls within the application providers, which is not a scalable approach. So SaaS security as a market, it's fragmented, it's decentralized, and there is an obvious need for organizations, technology providers such as DoControl to provide a holistic SaaS security platform that covers a wide range of these threat models. And there's pressures that are driving the need for that consolidation. So from this ESG report, when you look at the macroeconomic environment, you've got about half the organizations saying that they're going to increase IT spend. You've got about 30% saying that the budgets will remain flat, and then at right around 20%, it's going to decrease. So you've got half the organizations where it's going to increase, half is decreasing, but a strong percentage will either remain stagnant or increase in terms of cybersecurity. So the reality is budgets are in some cases they're going up, in some cases they're going down. The reality is for every organization in today's macroeconomic environment, they really need to get the most out of every technology that they've invested in, and they need tools that are going to consolidate these different threat models and address a wide range of different use cases. And again, that's what we're aiming to do with the DoControl SaaS security platform. We have use cases that we can address that are comprehensive within SaaS, complex SaaS environments, such as a CASB alternative. We have a low-code, no-code policy engine to create granular data access control policies to ensure data is not overexposed to the wrong identities. SaaS data loss prevention is a critical use case for us, making sure that data is not unintentionally or intentionally leaking outside of the business. Insider risk management, shadow application governance, we touched on this earlier, posture management, automation is what we're focused on, security automation, because as I mentioned earlier, when you look at the way that these applications, these platforms, and these services within SaaS are consumed, you need to have security scaling in line with business growth. And that's exactly what we're doing, is providing security workflows that IT and security teams can create that work well for the business so they can scale out as the business grows. We focus on your business critical SaaS application. So on the bottom part of the chart here, you can see an example set of some of the SaaS applications that we integrate with. It's a modern SaaS solution. So everything is API driven. It is an agentless solution. We're an event-driven platform. So when you configure a workflow, as soon as the event is triggered, the automated workflow that you've established is initiated and triggered automatically. So DoControl, our vision is to create a holistic platform that addresses a whole wide range of use cases within SaaS. And when we talk about return on investment and tooling consolidation, this is exactly what we're building in our platform. We're very much aware that there's a lack of IT and security professionals available in the market. They're stretched thin in terms of their workload. We want to make sure that those teams are agile, they can move fast. And that is a testament to the engineering that we've done by exposing, every event and asset, creating a full inventory of every user, group, domain, asset, application, et cetera, and then presenting that to your team so they have an understanding of who has access and to what, and then they can monitor and control what's taking place. We provide the self-service tools for those teams to remediate risk in a manual fashion. And then most importantly is the automated security that we provide, which I already touched on. So when we talk about ROI, there's a few different things. There's a few criteria that we want to hit on. The first is the financial and the risk implication. How much risk am I reducing per dollar spend? As I had shown in a few slides earlier, the IT security budgets are either flat, some are growing, some are declining. At the end of the day, as a CISO, you're having to make sure that any investment that you're making is reducing the maximum amount of risk for every dollar that you put towards that investment. From a resource optimization perspective, as I mentioned, teams are light. teams are overloaded. It's hard to backfill. The attrition right now in cybersecurity is really difficult. There's a notable lack of professionals in the market. So you need to, as a technology provider like DoControl, we need to provide the right tools in terms of automation for them to close up security gaps and do it in a way that frees up their time, right? And then lastly, adding value to the existing technology stack. So when we talk about DoControl and how lightweight it is, we're integrating with your IDP provider, we're integrating with other existing security tools that you have, like your SIM provider. We're integrating with your HRIS system. So when those employment status changes are triggered and somebody leaves the business, we want to make sure that we're closely monitoring those employees. So we're adding value to those existing investments that you've made. So those are the three criteria. When we quantify ROI, those are certainly the three things that we look at. And I would argue that these are the three things that most organizations are concerned with when they start talking about the return on investment. So with that, Matt, I'll turn it over to you to talk about our approach and cover the SaaS assessment.
Thanks, Corey. To give a little background on myself, so I'm the RevOps, as Corey said, the RevOps lead at DoControl. My role in the ROI is really work cross-functionally with our sales, channel, product, marketing team, our channel, our partners, our customers, to really build an ROI model that's validated, one, but also scalable with our business. And we're continuing iterating on with product feedback, customer feedback, and market feedback. So there's really three core pillars to our DoControl's approach to ROI: the exposure, the calculation, so the manual remediation cost, and then the ROI output. So starting from the left with exposure. From our industry data and our customer data, we understand that for one employee, they store about 1,700 SaaS assets. Within those SaaS assets, they then have public exposure, external exposure, and encryption keys based off industry standard percentages. The next level of bucket, so within that public exposure, internal exposure, and encryption keys, we have sensitive assets. The sensitive assets are financial files, product roadmaps, forecast files, data that most likely should not be outside the organization and needs to be reviewed by the security team, and most likely also remediated by the security team. Now we understand the exposure, we can then calculate, without a SaaS security platform in place, what would it cost your business to continuously maintain your SaaS security infrastructure? So first is time to remediate. So think about going to find that asset, reviewing the asset, so reviewing who has access to it, why there's public or external access, and if anyone should have access outside the organization. And then three, going through the remediation process. Second is think about the resources leveraged to do that. For a small business, maybe it's one person spending 15 to 20 hours a week. But for a larger business, maybe it's 4 to 5 resources, full-time or part-time doing this. That then lends us to our resourcing costs. So you can quickly do the math and say, all right, if it's taking us 4 to 5 minutes just to remediate one asset, and we have 20 hours a week being spent on that between 1 to 5 employees, that cost adds up quickly over time. The fourth piece here is efficiency losses. So if you're going to do this manually, you're going to have to involve product, sales, marketing, customer success, all these different teams, because you have to refer to them and ask them why and who has access to this file and the sensitive data. On top of that, you're going to have ticketing processes, you're going to have emails, you're going to have Slacks. That's valuable time being taken away from business critical partner, customer, and prospect facing activities that can be automated at scale with a SaaS security platform. Now we know the exposure. Now we understand, all right, how much is going to cost us to remain and scale manually. We can get the output of the ROI. So the first bullet is ROI, the standardized ROI of how much benefit do we get from how much we're spending. With a SaaS security platform like DoControl, we often see and continuously see with our customers and prospects a 3.5x plus ROI. Second is cost savings. If you're going to take a manual remediation approach, you're going to spend, you'll see this in the next slide, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on manual remediation costs and efficiency losses that can be put back in the business to accelerate growth with customers, prospects, and partners. Second to that is, even if you have an existing CASB in place, that tool is probably not providing you the granularity and the flexibility to scale with the business, and you're still spending hundreds and thousands of dollars to resource and support that tool over time. The last piece is hours saved in remediation. Similar to cost savings, the amount of time you're not even going to not just save your security team, but the overall business in manual remediation hours can be cut back towards other business critical activities to scale the business towards growth. As you'll see in the next slide is, DoControl has really built their go-to-market infrastructure and product infrastructure around this ROI model. We're working continuously to prove ROI to our customers, prospects, and partners as it's very needed in the industry today. So if you go to our website, you can go to resources and you can get a free risk assessment. Based off your company size, they'll give you your public exposure, external exposure, encryption fees, and your projected operational cost savings and remediation hours saved. There's really two key takeaways from this. One is, as you can see with this data, SaaS exposure is massive across organizations. And if you think about this, this is really a snapshot in a point in time. As your company grows, you're going to have people creating assets on a daily basis. You're going to have new employees added. You're going to have employees leave whose SaaS data is still in place. This data is only exponentially going to grow daily, monthly, and yearly. And the existing infrastructure that companies have in place today is not going to be able to support the growth of the business while keeping your SaaS security infrastructure secure. Second is, it's extremely costly to not invest in a SaaS security platform and have to either do this manually or use an existing CASB in place that's not going to, as I said earlier, provide you the flexibility and the granularity to scale with your business. I'll pass it back to Corey now for any final thoughts and closing remarks.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, so in terms of next steps, some of the data points that we worked on for the SaaS security threat landscape report, again, this is a customer study. So we worked closely with our data analytics team at DoControl, and the same went for the risk assessment. Isn't that right, Matt? Like, we worked with the data analytics team. I think you guys also pulled in data from IBM and Gartner as well to generate the calculations and the algorithms for the tool. So we have this data report that is a great resource, again, to help you understand the risk that's imposed by SaaS application utilization from mid-sized organizations as well as large enterprises. And we break it up into 5 critical categories and highlight some of those key trends across those areas. So we urge you to download the report. Same thing, go to the resource center and the report is available to you. We also have an executive summary and other supporting assets for the threat landscape report. And as Matt mentioned, take the assessment. It's free to use. It's on our website. Go visit docontrol.io, go to the resources section. And yeah, it's a simple and easy tool for you to use. Any questions about the ROI tool, the risk assessment, anything that we've discussed, feel free to reach out to your existing DoControl account team if you're an existing customer. And if you're interested in learning more, reach out to us. There's a contact us form on the website as well. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and be sure to join us on the next one. Thanks again.